Good afternoon, Chatham. Welcome to the May 6, 2025 meeting of the Chatham Select Board. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. I don't see any other such notifications, so I'll proceed. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025, signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491, #, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. First order of business is to establish a quorum. Mr. Metters.
Present.
Mr. Dykens.
Present.
Ms. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Schell is present, and Mr. Nicastro.
Present.
Thank you. We have a somewhat compact agenda this evening. We have public announcements and agenda item requests, public comments on the business agenda with the exception of the last one, which is discussion on use of town seal and town property for political purposes. That will be available for public comment alongside of the board. Although if you don't want to wait till the end, you're welcome to make a comment as part of the public announcements, public comments as well. Take your choice. Our business agenda consists of 10 items, and they are basically, we have a one-day entertainment license, a special license for sale of wine at the Chatham Farmers Market, a request to extend Art in the Park, and an addition of 2 information tables in July and August, a seasonal shellfish area closures for several locations, a George and Mary Bierce scholarship status from Attorney Bill Riley, 2025 annual meeting, Article 15 review, 2025 Article Town Meeting, Article 53 review, Massachusetts Clean Water Trust Financing Agreement, an award of general obligation loan and bonds, and then finally, as I mentioned, discussion on use of town seal and town property for political purposes. With that, I'm going to start on public announcements. As everybody I trust is aware, the 2025 annual town meeting is Saturday, May 10, 2025 at the Monomoy Regional Middle School Gymnasium located at 425 Kroll Road. The meeting starts at 11, but check-in begins at 10 and people are urged to get there early. There could be lines, and we'd like to have everybody in their seats and ready to go at 11 o'clock. Upon check-in, registered voters will be given an electronic voting device, or as we call them, clickers, and an index card of a certain color. If we run out of the just under 1,000 clickers that are owned by the town, registered voters will be given a different color index card to indicate they are registered to vote but do not have a clicker, and that will allow them to vote by hand. This is important in an effort to allow all families to participate. The town is offering free child care for children ages 3 and up. Reservations, however, are required. Drop-off for child care begins at 10:30 in the middle school library And you should email Susan Mobile. Her address is smabile@chatham-ma.gov. No later than 12 noon or Wednesday, May 7th, on Wednesday, May 7, 2025, to reserve your space. Please provide your name, address, contact phone number, and your child's name, age, and any medical issues when you reserve your space. If you need transportation to the meeting, the town is offering limited shuttle service. Please call Alex Weglars at the Center for Active Living, and the number there is 508-945-5190 to reserve a seat. Again, no later than 12 noon on Wednesday, May 7th. That's actually tomorrow. So if you need either of those, please attend to that promptly, and in any event by tomorrow at noon. The 2024 annual town report has been posted on the town manager's page on the town's website, and there are additional copies of the warrant available at the town manager's office and also online in the town meeting central section of the town's website. With that, I'll invite any announcements or agenda item requests from the board. I have one other. I had one of our residents who lives in the vicinity of Barcliff and Old Harbor Road ask me please to encourage the board and/or the Traffic Safety Committee to have another look at that intersection, because he said it is unsafe. You cannot see traffic traveling on Old Harbor Road when you're coming from either direction on Barcliff. I actually went over and looked from both ends. He's absolutely right. And so I'll make it a combined agenda request and reference to the Traffic and Safety Committee. I recall the conversation we had with Rob Faley when that issue came up the last time. We encouraged him and the Traffic Safety Committee to see if they couldn't get a good conversation going with the state to see if something can be done there, whether it's a four-way stop or it's cutting the bushes back, whatever it is, it is unsafe. With that, I think the Harbor Master has an announcement as well.
Good evening. Appreciate your time. Jason Holm, Harbor Master. The United States Coast Guard is seeking public input on a proposal to discontinue several buoys across the Northeast region, including 4 critical navigational aids located in Chatham. In response to this matter, I've notified all Chatham mooring permit holders via email, encouraging them to review the proposed changes and provide feedback. The email included a link to detailed information about the proposal, along with an interactive map featuring a comprehensive legend that identifies buoys under consideration. Additionally, the link provided the designated email address for submitting written comments. This issue has been formally presented to the Waterways Advisory Committee and the Working Waterfront Advisory Committee, and will be discussed at their upcoming meetings where a vote will take place. We plan on providing the Select Board agenda report later this month, which would provide you with a chance to consider committee and staff recommendations and a possible vote of town support ahead of the public input deadline of June 13th, 2025. Relevant information is available on our website under the public boating information section and labeled Notice to Mariners Coast Guard Buoy Discontinuation. So, thank you.
Thanks very much. Any comments or questions from the board?
I just want to make sure that we have an agenda item on this issue way up front of the letter deadline so that we can be able to send a letter.
Duly noted. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Any other announcements or agenda item requests from the public? I don't see anybody, so we'll move to public comments on the business agenda. Anyone from here in the room or online? I don't see anybody. So we will move to the business agenda. First item is a request for a special one-day entertainment license by Short But Sweet for the 5K Charity Fun Run on June 14th.
Hello.
Is Rebecca online or somebody from?
It's her husband again, Ian.
Okay, Ian, come on in.
There we go. Sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. Yeah, we just wanted to get the entertainment license for a small PA just to announce the runners and the start of the race, etc., and maybe some recorded music, but it won't be anything more than that.
Thoughts, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant a special one-day entertainment license for amplified recorded music to Rebecca McBride of Short and Sweet Ice Cream on Saturday, June 14th, 2025, from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
And Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Ian. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a
Okay.
good night.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm recusing myself on the next.
Yep. So we have a special one-day, a special license for sale of wine produced by Famer Winery for off-premise consumption at indoor or outdoor agricultural event. And we're talking about the Chatham Farmers Market at 60 Meeting House Road. Chatham Spicy Water Distillers LLC, doing business as Spicy Water Distillery. Cheryl St. Ange, welcome. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself before you present, thank you.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight. My name is Cheryl St. Ange, and I am a co-owner of a company called No Strings Attached Limoncello, which is contract manufactured by Spicy Water Distillery. We're a local business. It is owned by myself and my business partner. We are retired Worcester Public School teachers, and we have taken a family recipe down among the generations to create a cream-based limoncello. And we feel that we are a very small business. Two retired teachers, maybe we should have had this when we were working, but we are looking to be a member and part of the Chatham Farmers Market. Chatham is based on a small business throughout all of Cape Cod, not just Chatham. And that's why we feel we're a small business as well. Not only are we Cape Cod-based, that's where we work out of, but the Spicy Water is located in Millbury, Mass. And that is so we're truly a Massachusetts product. So we would like to be part of it. We have been approved, as you have all the documents in front of you. And I guess from there, we'd like to say if there's any questions.
Jeff, go ahead.
So limoncello is what? Is it an aperitif, after-dinner drink, or?
Excellent question. It is an after-dinner drink or a cordial. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to say that it is more than that. So we will be providing to people that visit the Chatham Market, we'll be providing recipe cards that show that you can use it to make limoncello cookies or cakes or a savory sauce to use on pasta. So there's more different ways than just drinking limoncello.
And the farmer's market approach is a marketing approach that you think works?
Well,
you wouldn't be asking, you know.
It's a great opportunity as a small business trying to get, our name out there. And we feel that it would fit in a lot with your philosophy of the Chatham market.
Yeah, super. Interesting, sounds great.
Sounded great to me, and I'm all for it. It's exciting. I wish you well. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant a special license to Barry Bacon on behalf of Spicy Water Distillers LLC, doing business as Spicy Water Distillery, for the sale of wine produced by Famer Winery for off-premise consumption at the Chatham Farmers Market held Tuesdays from 3 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. from May 20th, 2025 through October 21, 2025 at 60 Meeting House Road, Chatham, Massachusetts.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
You're good to go.
Thank you very much for your time.
Congratulations.
Please come to the market and try it. I'd love to serve you. Thank you.
We'll do it. We'll do. We have an application for a request to extend Art in the Park. I think it's by 1 day, and adding 2 information tables. Kristen?
Hello.
Welcome.
Kristen Muller from the Chamber of Commerce and Merchants Association. You all approved our application to have Art in the Park at Cape Gould Park this summer, a month or so ago. But on that application, we stated the end date as, I just want to make sure I get it right. As August 14th, and that's a Thursday, and the event will hopefully be ending on August 15th, which is a Friday. So I just need your approval for that date change on our permit to do that. The other thing we are requesting is, as you know, we have teamed up with the Center for Coastal Studies and the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy to provide educational information in the park during the art installation. They provide trivia questions, and they both have information on their website that furthers that information. But what they would like to do is set up on certain Wednesdays throughout the summer to offer more extensive information to the public about our marine ecosystem and the stuff that goes on in our waters out there. The representatives are online if you have specific questions for them. Kristen is here from the Shark Conservancy and Jesse from the Center for Coastal Studies. But otherwise, it's just permission for those 4 dates on Wednesdays from 1 to 4 p.m. when we kind of feel the most families with young kids that are interested in all of this stuff are milling around town, and it would be a great time to provide the public with some more information.
Okay. Questions? Corey?
Pretty straightforward question. The 2 tables, where exactly in the park are you planning to set those up?
Probably either within the art or just behind the art. As you come in from Main Street, the art sort of fills up the whole front, so either right behind that or somewhere within it that makes sense that people looking at the art would understand that they were associated with it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Dean?
Yeah, Kristen, the materials indicated that there was an interest in having a parking space available for the exhibitors. Is that a moot issue at this point?
Well, Kathy had asked me if they needed loading and unloading, and obviously in the middle of the day in the summer, they would love to be able to pull up and unload their stuff more easily. If that's not possible, we understand, but if it is possible for each organization to have 1 parking space, either in the Oyster Lot or on Main Street, that would be fantastic.
But they would need it really only twice to unload and then reload.
Either that to unload and reload or to leave it there, because the same person, like the people that will be bringing the stuff will be staying for the 3 hours and then leaving. So either someplace to leave their car for the 3 hours and then leave, or just to be able to unload and then go park elsewhere, whatever is most feasible for the town.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I guess I would defer to the police department. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think,
I mean,
you
that's
talk
what
about
they
3
have
hours,
for us.
but in order to have a parking space available at 1 o'clock, you probably have to block it
Right.
pretty early.
Right.
Uh,
So
and
as
it's-
long as they could pull up and unload, put their flashers on, and then go park, and if we could just let the police department know they'd be doing that briefly, then
Yeah.
I'm sure that's fine.
I don't see a problem. Yeah, Jeff, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think that's a great, that's the way I would go about it. And I think this is a great idea, to have White Shark Conservancy and Center for Coastal Studies, very appropriate for education. Nothing's going to be sold, they're not going to be soliciting
Correct.
anybody, it's just purely informational.
Information,
I think it's a great idea.
answering questions, handing
Answering
out
questions,
material,
yeah.
but they both understand they can't accept the donations inside the park.
I think it's a great idea.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move to extend the Art in the Park event to Friday, August 15th, 2025 in Cape Cool Park. And I move to allow the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy and the Center for Coastal Studies to set up information tables in Cape Cool Park to augment the Art in the Park event on Wednesday, July 2nd, July 16th, July 23rd, and August 6th, 2025 from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Second.
We'll give that one to Dean.
Okay.
Okay, and so we're voting on both motions
Yep.
at the same time. Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dyken.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good idea.
You're good to go. Next, do we have Renee online?
She's online.
Okay, welcome Renee.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair.
Please, go ahead.
Yep, good evening, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much, and good evening to the board. I'm before you tonight for a request to consider all of our seasonal closures all at once, beginning with Bucks Creek on May 15th and ending with Oyster Pond on July 1st, with a few more in between.
Okay, any questions? Do I recall that we read each one of those and vote on each one of them individually?
We read them all.
Read them all and then vote? Okay, that's what we'll do.
Okay. All right, Town of Chatham, Office of the Select Board. Shellfish Rules and Regulations, May 6, 2025, closed, effective May 15, 2025. The waters and flats of Bucks Creek, north of the line across the mouth of the creek and east of the line across the mouth of Cockle Cove Creek are closed to the taking of shellfish by permit holders until further notice. Sign the Select Board. Number 2, Shellfish Rules and Regulations, May 6, closed, effective June 1st, 2025. The waters and flats of Mill Creek, north of a line drawn from the western breakwater to the eastern breakwater at the mouth of Mill Creek and south of a line drawn across the mouth of Taylor's Pond, are closed to the taking of shellfish until further notice. Signed, the Select Board. May 6th, closed, effective June 1st. The waters and flats of Taylor's Pond, north of a line drawn across the mouth of the pond, are closed to the taking of shellfish by permit holders until further notice. Signed, the Select Board. Closed, May 6th, closed, effective June 1st. The waters and flats and all tributaries of Champlain Creek, northwest of a line drawn from the outmost piling at the town boat ramp northeasterly to the no shellfishing sign in the marsh on the opposite shore, are closed to the taking of shellfish by permit holders until further notice. Signed, the Select Board. May 6th, closed, effective June 1st. The waters and flats of Muddy Creek, southwest of a line drawn across the mouth of the creek as defined at low tide and northeast at the Route 28 bridge, are closed to the taking of shellfish by permit holders until further notice. Signed, the Select Board. May 6th, closed, effective July 1st. The Oyster Pond east of a line from Kelly Landing to Long Point is closed to the taking of shellfish by permit holders until further notice. Signed, the Select Board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve all these seasonal closures as read by the clerk.
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
We're good to go. Thank you very much, Renee.
Thank you very
Thank-
much.
Thank you. We have Attorney Bill Riley, who's here to present an update to the Select Board on the George and Mary Bierce Scholarship and Trust Fund, and I think he has a proposal of sorts. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Bill Riley. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, there was a couple who lived here, George and Mary Burse. They lived on Queen Anne Road, in a large white house. It's right next to the Queen Anne Inn, in fact. They retired to Florida and they created a trust, which was to be monitored or run by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, my predecessor in my office, Igo W. Toby, and the president of the Chatham Trust Company, which of course doesn't exist anymore. So since I've been involved, since the death of Bill Toby in 1982, the the trust fund, which started out in 1965 with $25,000, has grown. Initially, they were giving out $500 scholarships. The scholarships were intended for Chatham residents graduating from Chatham High School. Back in the 80s, we went to court and got permission to increase the trust, the scholarship from $500 to $1,000 because of accumulation of income and just growth, capital growth. We were generating more money, and we thought $1,000 made more sense back then. And we were giving out, 5 or 6 scholarships a year, and we didn't decide on the recipients. That was done by the guidance staff at the high school. The involvement of the chair of the select board was that person had to come to my office and sign the checks when we issued them. And that was about the limit of the select board's involvement at that time. So that continued on, and when the schools regionalized, we felt, well, we would just continue the same process. It's just it would only be Chatham residents as they graduated from Monomoy Regional that would be receiving, these gifts, these scholarships. But there was a change of staff with the regionalization. And the very good communication we had with the guidance staff at Chatham High was not as good as it was once they moved over to Monomoy Regional. And candidly, I wasn't paying that much attention to it. I had a staff person who had dealt with it for years, and she would reach out to the staff, and if we didn't get a prompt response, we really didn't do much of a follow-up. So there were some years when no scholarships were given. Then my staff person retired, and a little more time went by, and I realized, we weren't paying any attention to it. So I got out, the last statement for how much money was in the fund itself, and it was over $450,000. The value today is $477,000. So I thought that perhaps we would need some professional assistance to take care of the scholarship fund. With the recommendation, I checked with a guy in the trust department at Cape Cod 5. He said, go talk to the Cape Cod Foundation, which I did. I didn't know much about them. It's really an amazing organization. They currently manage over $100 million and most of the money that they're holding is in pockets, each pocket dedicated to a particular use as the gifts were created. And so I met with Kristen O'Malley, who's the chairman and the president of the foundation. And what she suggested was that we would terminate the current trust fund and give the funds to the Cape Cod Foundation, which would just hold the funds in there with their general funds. But they would follow those assets so that the income from those assets would be used to provide scholarships for Chatham residents as they graduate. They have suggested that we should broaden the pool of recipients to include any Chatham resident graduating from any public high school. So that would include charter schools like Sturgis or the Chatham Light. So that's the proposal that I've been discussing with them, because the chair of the board is also a trustee, I wanted to bring it to you to let you know what we're doing. What Ms. O'Malley said is that with the amount of money we have now, she thinks that they'll be able to give, instead of $1,000 once, they will be able to give $4,000 or $5,000 every year that the student is in college. So it'll be a multi-year scholarship rather than just a one-time gift. And they believe that, they'll be able to give multiples of that size gift to Chatham students graduating from our public schools. So that's sort of where we are. Happy to answer any questions or.
If I,
Oh, by the way, so technically, what has to happen, I have to go to the probate court and file what we call a cypre petition. That's where you want to modify a trust. So we'd go to the court and request permission to do these things, and the court presumably would enter an order authorizing these things to occur, just so you know. So that, so assuming you have no objection, that's what I would proceed to do shortly.
So if I may, first of all, thank you for the benefit of everybody here. Bill came over to Town Hall and met with me and Jill, and was it just the three? There were 3 or 4 of us, and sort of laid all this out. He also provided me with copies of the original trust, which I think was 61, and the amendment, which is 1965. I read them, and as he's described it, that's the sort of my understanding of the legal situation. My only comment was going to be that whether it's me or somebody else, and likely it will be somebody else, by the time you get a probate, whatever it is, decree or order, to terminate the trust, but something needs to come back to the current chair of the board of the select board to ensure and assure that person that they're no longer a member, a trustee with whatever responsibilities that carries with it.
Right, and the court may require the chairman of the board to be part of the petition as well.
Okay.
Or at least understand that there's no objection to the petition by the
Okay.
chair.
So with that, Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Bill. I encountered Bill in the parking lot this morning. I told him I was going to ask this particular question. I think this is an excellent idea, by the way. And I do remember the year I was chairman, I think every time we get a new chair, they have to go into your office and look at your files. The recommendation of the Cape Cod Foundation is that the eligibility be expanded to any student resident in Chatham who is a graduating high school senior of a public high school in Barnstable County, which, as you indicated, would include a charter school. I wanted to ask whether it had been considered or whether there's any limitation in the reading of the trust documents. I don't remember what they said. I think it just said Chatham High School at the time, to expanding it to include students that are resident in Chatham but attend a non-public school, like a private academy or a religious school.
Well, I think in my conversation with Kristen O'Malley at the foundation, of course, I wasn't here in 1960s, and I didn't know the Burses, but I know that in 1960s, Chatham was a really small town, and most of the people who ran the town were all lifelong residents of the town. And so, when the Burses set up the scholarship, I think they had in mind helping those people you know, they weren't rich, they weren't wealthy, they were fisher folk, they were, you know, shopkeepers, you know. So in my conversation with Kristen O'Malley, I thought that if the children or the families of the children had the wherewithal to send them to a private school, I hadn't really thought about religious education because I don't know what that costs. I was just thinking a private school costs $40,000, you know, and if a family can afford that, you know, really, shouldn't we save the scholarship money for Chatham residents going to public schools? So, I mean, I'm happy to accept any recommendation, and I can bring it back to Kristen, but that was my discussion with her, and then she made the recommendation, so.
No, I appreciate that, and I'm not pushing it, I just throw it out for consideration. And I suppose you could argue that when this was set up by the Burses back in '62, their focus was Chatham High School, that was a public high school. And I suppose you'd have to, if you wanted to expand it, you'd have to get some approval from the court under CPRE to see whether expanding it to non-public school students would really fall within the intent of the original donor. So I'm not asking that it be pursued any further. I appreciate your recommendation. I appreciate your explanation.
Shereen?
Thank you.
So I was just looking at, you know, the thought rationale around not offering it out, but this is a needs-based, correct? Needs-based scholarship.
Not necessarily.
Criteria is academic performance and financial need as primary criteria.
That's what Kristen O'Malley's proposing,
Okay.
how they will run it. So I think, you know, there would be students who wouldn't necessarily be need-based, but it would be based on performance. I think it's, you know, I think they're keeping their options open in that regard, but.
I guess my question is, having a granddaughter that goes to a private school, not on the Cape, but with a scholarship, you know, that, I mean, she's in a private school and it's not being paid completely by her parents.
Right.
There is a need base there, obviously, and there can be instances within private school systems and religious school systems where a student might have a need base. So just throwing it out there for your consideration. I mean, I'm not married to it either, but, you know.
Well, I'll discuss it again with the Cape Cod Foundation. Candidly, I think they're basically going to do what I asked them to do. And I could understand broadening it so that it includes religious schools also located in Barnstable County. You know, I'll discuss it with them about private schools, but my own inclination would be that, you know, the Burses are really focusing on graduates from Chatham High School. And so, I mean, they could have said Chatham residents graduating from any other school, and they did not. So that's why I wanted to keep the focus on public schools, although we could certainly expand it to Catholic schools located in Barnstable County. Or religious schools located in Barnstable County.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, Bill, I think this is a wonderful thing. The foundation has done a great work. I mean, they're going to be a great steward if this goes through. I mean, it's a clear choice. I think it's necessary to go in this direction. You and I have spoken about this a couple years ago, so I'm familiar with it. I am sensitive to some of the previous comments, but I do think, from my own personal position, I'd like to stay as close to what the intent of the Burse family was, and I do believe you've stated that, you know, kind of the working family, local type core was the focus of it. I mean, this process is not a given. I mean, there could be a little bit of pushback and a little, you know, it's not a cakewalk to do this, but it should be able to be done. When I was saying, it's not, it's far from, impossible. So I like to stay within the, you know, the spirit of what was meant for it and kind of keep it simple because, you know, that money, if it's divvied out, I mean, you've got a pretty good pot of funds that can help a lot of people out.
Right.
And there's a lot of locals, young kids that are here, and, you know, with any luck, we'll get more over the next couple generations if we, you know, maybe not, I don't know. But, you know, any incentive would help, so. But I applaud you for bringing this forward, and I think it's time to hand it over to the foundation.
Jeff?
Thank you, Bill. I think the Cape Cod Foundation is a great choice. They do a wonderful job there. They're talented. This is a lot of what they do. They administer these trusts. I can remember announcing George and Mary Burr scholarships at every Chatham High graduation, $1,000 here. So that was a fairly, you know, we handed them out all the time. I agree with Corey that, you know, we want to stay close to the original intent of the Bierces, and that Chatham students from any public high school in Barnstable County is fine with me. I'd ask Kristen about expanding it to private, but I would, you know, maybe prioritize, you know, Chatham students at public high schools. What it does do, if you define it that way, is it takes into consideration the school choice. So if a Chatham student does go to Nauset, for example, which we've had in the past, obviously, then that student would still be, you know, be able to participate or apply. So I think Chatham High ought to, you know, Monomoy ought to be number one, but then, you know, if you're a Chatham resident, then you get, you know, you can also be into consideration elsewhere.
Yeah, I'll have more conversations with the foundation, but what they do, because they give out other scholarships, so they have, I guess there's a common form that goes out to the schools for children to apply for scholarships. And so that'll go out to the various guidance departments of the schools we're talking about. And then the guidance people will make recommendations, knowing that it's limited to Chatham residents. So that's, you know, so it's a little different than the way it has been run, but.
Yeah. Well, it's probably time. It's probably time to get with the Cape Cod Foundation. It's good. It's a really good move. Just want to make sure that communication comes back to the guidance department and you know, announcements and, you know, at graduation, and folks know that, you know, this is going on. When it actually happens, it's really fun.
Right, I'll try to work with Kristen on that.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, don't let me forget that, but I did want to say a couple of things here first. I think the point that Jeff just made would be something that we'd really like to be assured is going to happen, namely the announcements and the awards at graduation, that sort of thing, which prompts me to say, do we think that this can be, retain the name of the George and Mary Burse Scholarship? So that's ongoing, even though it's been folded into the.
I believe
larger
that's what
fund?
happens. It's just that it's no longer a separate trust fund. It becomes part of their money. I mean, our funds are isolated like in a pocket like all the other funds, but the trust is going to disappear.
Yeah, that I understand. The question is when this
I'll make-
set of awards
I'll make sure
are
that that's it.
made, that
I'll make sure
they're-
that that's a condition.
That's made, okay, now, the other thing that Dean kind of whispers in my ear, and I agree that if we can, it would be good if we could be giving you, first of all, I don't think we have any legal jurisdiction here, but I think it will be helpful to you if you can say that you got advice from the Chatham Select Board, which is probably what you're here for.
Right.
It would be good if we could be sort of together on this issue of either private and/or religious schools. we are still talking about only in Barnstable County. Let me betray my ignorance. Are there a lot of either of those in Barnstable County? Yeah, go ahead.
Cape Cod Academy is the primary private school at high school, and then we have Pope John Paul, obviously.
Okay, so we have two that would be picked up if but it would still be limited to Chatham kids.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess I'll invite a comment now that, at least for me, that's clarified, whether we want to give any advice on including or excluding them from what Bill is suggesting, which is Chatham kids going to a public high school in Barnstable County.
Yeah, I mean, there are
That's-
religious schools also. There's Trinity School,
Well, it's Trinity too, that's right.
there's John Paul the second,
I don't think Trinity's a high school, though. I could be wrong, but I
or, oh, I don't know.
it could be. I mean, if we stick to the spirit of the trust's original intent, it says public.
Well, it was one high school.
I understand.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I don't have a point of view
I don't
here.
have a dog- I don't have a dog in it.
You know, I'm kind of thinking this might be how many angels on the head of the pin, but, yeah, go
As
ahead.
I said, I wasn't married to the idea of the private school or the religious school, and if it simplifies the messaging, I would stick to the original intent of the Bearses on this.
And I think we're also making your life easier with your Cypre application, because you're going to have to argue whatever we are suggesting is consistent with the intent of the original intent of the donors, if I understand it correctly.
Right, and based on my previous experience with this kind of petition, there's not a lot of debate or concern.
Right.
The judge basically makes sure there's proper notice and then they approve it.
Right,
So,
okay. All right, so I'm kind of hearing that we're going to stick with the public.
I'm okay with that. I'm where Shireen is on this. It would complicate your CPRE request. The judge is going to ask, were there any private schools around in 1962? I wasn't down here, so I don't know. I assume there might have been, and maybe not. I think Pope John is a more recent school. But
well,
the
none of
other
the
point-
private schools that are here today were there in 1965, I can tell you that.
Say that again, please.
I don't believe the private schools that are here today were present in 1965.
There you go.
I mean, I could check, but
No, that's fine. So I'm fine.
Is this requiring a vote or a vote of support or anything like that? I mean, just to make it more
I
of a...
think we could say that it is the sense of the select board that what you've proposed is a proposal that we have no objection to, and unless somebody announces an objection, I think we've covered it. I would like to say that whether it's a condition, whatever, that you come back and present the final order or decree of the probate court when you have it.
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think this is Mr. Spru. Are you, no, this is a petition article. Yeah, I'm sorry, Thad, go ahead. Forgive me.
Good evening. For the record, Thad Eldridge, Impact Chatham, and we have two petition articles for final review this evening before we go to town meeting. The first one is enabling stormwater in the Conservancy District. We met with the planning board a couple of times. They're not enamored with it. The Conservation Commission does review these. They have methods for technical review. The development in the Conservancy District already exists, and that will be expanding as sea level rises. Redevelopment is frequent, and we do not have a remedy for stormwater with the redevelopment. We can fix the septic, fix the utilities, upgrade plants, take out the plants that the Conservation Commission deems unnecessary and inappropriate. We can change the structures to be safe, but we cannot improve the water quality with the restrictions that we have today. Residents just want to fix to some of the problems. I was down at the Little Beach area last week, looking at the big puddle that persists there for days after a storm with no way to take care of it. A couple spoke with me. They're now year-round residents, and they would just like to be able to take care of some of their stormwater issues. The redevelopment is frequent. I don't know if anyone saw the fire at 665 Fox Hill Road. That's all in the Conservancy District. That redevelopment will be within, with the ability to enable stormwater in the Conservancy District. We can do something about it, improving water quality. We do have more year-round residents than ever in the Conservancy District. I wouldn't want to live there myself, because every storm you'd want to seek shelter elsewhere, but it's a great spot to be when the weather is nice. If there are questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jeff?
I didn't see the planning board meeting, unfortunately. What was the objection? They voted 0-4-0 against.
They were concerned that, I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say, Art Spru is here. I think that's probably the best source of that
Yeah, thanks.
answer to the, good answer to that question.
Thank you. Art Spru, Chair of the Planning Board. I thought it would be best if I clarified a few things. We certainly support stormwater management techniques. I think what we have here, though, is we're dealing with something that's in the Conservancy District. That is what is considered an environmentally sensitive site. In this particular case, when you just refer to techniques that are in the Stormwater Handbook, that's very wide compilation of different approaches in that. Because these are environmentally sensitive sites, there's limited approaches that should be used, and there should be specific guidelines and criteria that would set that. Now, those are in the Stormwater Handbook, but just the way it's written, anything could be thrown in there, and that meets the guidelines of the handbook, but that's not necessarily the way you should approach designing in environmentally sensitive sites. So if there's some rework on this, we certainly can help that on this. I got to commend them for digging into these type of things. We certainly have our agenda full with other zoning-related items, so we didn't have a lot of time to actually give feedback on this. We were trying to take care of our own things. So I would say that that's something that could be accomplished if that's the desire of the town to put stormwater management in the Conservancy District. So it is possible. I think there should be criteria and guidelines the way they're limited to with specific stormwater techniques.
Before you run away, at the risk of unduly complicating it, and I was present at the meeting, the most recent meeting at which you considered an attempted or a proposed change to what was in the original petition, which didn't pass muster with the board either. Is it worthy of explanation how that still didn't get us where we needed to be?
I think after some more thought, that wasn't enough. There was a filling element in some of the language that might have been deleted. Also, many of these sites are related to residential. The planning board generally does not do any reviews on these. If there's a special permit that goes through the ZBA, they ask for our input associated with one item, and that's a driveway in the Conservancy District, and it's all we have a comment on. It's pretty straightforward of what our recommendations usually are. But there's no definition of who should be the entity that would get involved with this. This is a little bit more than what a ZBA, maybe the Concom, would be an appropriate entity. But I think the best thing to do, though, is establish what the criteria or guidelines should be on this, and it shouldn't be any stormwater technique, because some of them can be pretty aggressive in an environmentally sensitive area, and the guidelines in the handbook actually go through some good techniques and suggested steps on how to go about doing it. But again, that's not all it says. It says you can do all these other things too, which is not what we should be considering or allowing in the Conservancy District.
Thanks. Go ahead, Dean.
Thank you. The warrant shows that the Select Board approved this unanimously, and the memo that we got in the packet said that our recommendation was subject to a favorable recommendation from the Planning Board. The Planning Board has now voted unanimously not to approve this. That gives me some pause, obviously. I'd like to hear a response to what you just said from Mr. Eldridge, the sponsor, and then I may have a comment on it.
So we have two sides of this building when you go upstairs, and rarely do they speak with each other. We have natural resources on one side, community development on the other. All of the concerns that the planning board has regarding the application of stormwater management is directly under the charge of the Conservation Commission. When there are projects within riverfront areas, they're required to review stormwater. When there are projects including commercial redevelopment, they're required to review the stormwater. They have a method for technical reviews when some of these do get complicated, and when they get beyond their expertise, they can call in consultants in order to review. And that's all very well laid out within their rules and regulations, and also under the state statute, the State Wetlands Protection Act, the applications that we make through the Conservation Commission. So these concerns that there's nobody guiding it are unfounded because the Conservation Commission is there.
Go ahead.
But the threshold question is what should be in the zoning bylaw, the protective bylaw, and that's really within the purview of the planning board to recommend. So they've looked at it and they've said, I guess, if I can paraphrase what the chair just said, they think this is perhaps too open-ended and it requires some further study and review. So what would be your concern, if any, if this were referred back to the planning board by a town meeting? I know you're going to lose 6 months or a year, depending on whether you have a special town meeting between now and next May.
I don't plan on calling any special town meeting.
No, I know. I'm not particularly fond of them, as people know. But, no, I mean, but it would, obviously, there might be some projects in between.
My biggest concern would be redundant regulation. We have enough redundant regulation already.
Yeah, I guess I sort of come down, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and I've said when you were here before, you know, I supported it. I'm not sure I support it now, I mean, based on what the planning board has done. But, you know, I'm not sure I'm going to propose a motion to reconsider our vote, but I'll have a chance at town meeting to vote the way I want to, and so will everybody else in that room. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I respect what both sides are saying here. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, I mean, both what you read and what I remember was that our recommendation was subject to an affirmative approval or affirmative recommendation from the planning board. So from my point of view, not having had that, our recommendation is a nullity.
Then that should be stated at town meeting by somebody.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I agree with you.
Down the line, yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
That being said, I really am going to speak in support of Mr. Eldridge's efforts in Impact Chatham. He has really taken a very detailed, educated, well-informed look at some of this stuff, and we should listen to what he says. So I would hope that we follow up with the planning board and that they get some detail around what's the most suitable way to deal with stormwater in the Conservancy District. This is not uncomplicated, to use a double negative. And Mr. Eldridge is very good at what he does, and he really gets it. So I do not want to pour any cold water on his efforts on this and, you know, anything else he brings forward, because I think there's value to be gained by the town via his efforts.
And if I may parallel one, septic systems. There are no regulations in the zoning bylaw regarding septic systems. Those are under conservation, under the Board of Health. And we have to put septic systems in the Conservancy District quite often because if the lot's entirely within, the regulations under conservation and Board of Health then govern how that septic system is designed and constructed.
All good. I mean, keep it going. No, I'm telling you, I'm extremely, I for one am extremely impressed. to be honest with you.
Again, I'm just directing traffic here, but the sad fact is there is not another planning board meeting between now and town meeting. So we're either gonna go with, by ourselves with Mr. Eldridge by himself, or he's consigned to working another year or 6 months or whatever it is. But this really depends on what we do here, I think. Obviously, it's up to town meeting. You can go to town meeting and persuade them, but as far as our recommendation is concerned, it's now or never. Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
Well, this mechanics is, I mean, this, as you just mentioned, this is going to town meeting. This is a citizen petition. It's going to be
Yep,
voted.
absolutely.
We have in the printed, the printed version will have our previous recommendation. That was in the printed. But mechanically, because the planning board had a non-favorable recommendation to this article, and I commend the work that is put into all this stuff, I'm not taking a knock on this at all. But because the planning board had a non-favorable recommendation, our position right now is we can either decide if we want to hold our previous vote or reconsider it. We're going to take one action or the other. That's what we kind of said. So we're going to take an action tonight, and we can either say, nope, we hold firm to the previous vote we took, end of story, or we vote and make a amendment to our recommendation, which we did have to be reported at the floor of town meeting. So, I mean, that's the crossroads we're at right now. And I applaud Thad's position and an effort he's put into it, but I also have served quite a few years on the planning board, and I respect the work that all the volunteers put on the planning board, and, they probably put far more eyes on this topic than I ever have, and, this particular topic. And if we're a split board, then I'd be, well, okay, different opinion, but when it's unanimous, it gives me a moment to pause to maybe let it sit another year and maybe just flush out the details if that's the case. So my gut tells me to amend our recommendation. Maybe it doesn't get moved at town meeting, maybe it does. Fix the fine details that need to be fixed and bring it back in a year, and get it done right, with probably unanimous vote, versus having something that may end up failing, and then, we understand the process. It could be a little bit more of a delay. So I'd rather amend our vote, to be honest with you. But this is what my gut tells me.
So when you say amend our motion to, in effect,
Recommend approval, yeah. Our recommendation.
right, so, but once we get done amending it, it is now a recommendation against?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. I don't know, is anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'm really compelled by your statement about the redundancy aspect of this, between the planning board and the Conservation Commission. You're saying it's covered within the purview of the Conservation Commission. That's my understanding, and there are several other examples that you just cited, mainly septic. So is there any reason why we can't not take a vote and just mention what our intent was? I don't want to kill this on you, Thad, I really don't. I think that the intention is there to do something, be more thorough about this issue. I guess I'm just talking in circles, so I'm just going to leave it for where it is right now. But I'm understanding where you're coming from.
Can I throw a monkey wrench into the conversation?
Oh, please.
Just for
Please.
laughs, just for laughs.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we made a recommendation. We are not actually technically required to make a recommendation, so we could just withdraw our previous recommendation and leave it.
I would prefer to do that.
Yeah,
That way we have no recommendation. And if we want to speak individually on it at town meeting floor, so be it. It doesn't penalize the applicant, but it is an option.
Yep,
Adam?
go ahead.
The voters of Chatham have received a warrant which says that the Select Board unanimously, with a 5-0 vote, recommends this article. So if there's going to be any kind of change, that needs to be informed. They need to be informed about that. I wanted to ask the question, maybe this question is best directed to the Chair of the Planning Board. If this goes forward, and let's say in the next, how many days do we have to town meeting, 4 or 5 days? Mr. Eldridge or somebody comes up with a modification that might satisfy the concerns of the planning board. Is town meeting able to enact that as long as it's within the original parameters of the?
I don't think it would be within the original parameters because there's at least 3 pages of environmental sensitive site-related design aspects that should be addressed in some fashion or other as part of this. It's criteria. It's low impact as the development design approaches. It's not the structures. It's not all the other techniques that are available to you in the handbook. And these are the type of things. And they go through a process in there on what an applicant and a designer should be doing associated with an environmentally sensitive site like the Conservancy District. So I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying that just to leave it wide open and just say anything in the handbook is good is not an appropriate way to go about doing it. That certainly would be appropriate for what we do for site designs for commercial sites that are outside. We use it all the time. But with Conservancy District, I think you just need this higher level with some guidance. And that's really all it is. Take the information that's there. That's the guidance that should be limited to that these approaches, not everything that's available out there. And if it's Conservation Commission, fine. I mean, they certainly would know how to apply it in the right way.
So this is really either an up or down at town meeting on basis of what he's filed.
I think so, because it went from nothing, as Thad mentioned, to wide open. And I think something in the middle, because it's the Conservancy District. If this was something, I've been trying to do something with stormwater management in town ever since I've been on the board. So I'm not objecting to this. I like to do it the right way, though.
Yeah.
That's all.
So I'm just going to sum up by saying, notwithstanding what I said earlier about not offering a motion, I mean, based on the conversation, I would be very reluctant to have no recommendation go before town meeting from this board. I think we should either vote to recommend, keep the existing recommendation, which is qualified, as you said, Mr. Chairman, it really is a nullity.
Well, it is qualified, we qualified it, but I just looked at the warrant
No, it
again.
doesn't,
It's
yeah.
not in the
No.
warrant, so somebody's gonna have to stand up and say, after the planning board says we're recommending against it, somebody is gonna have to stand up, one of us is gonna have to stand up and say, our recommendation was subject to that, they're approving it, so our recommendation is, is essentially void.
I'm going to,
We certainly did create a problem with deferring this
It's
late
timing.
hearing.
It just, we ran out of time.
Yeah, we did.
I'm going to offer a motion.
Before you do, I'd like to say something here. I want to ask a question, because I didn't get my chance to say, I'm exceedingly impressed with your work as well, Thad, and I'm torn. It's kind of like having 2 experts who are equally well qualified. Indeed, they have, credentials up and down the page, and they're saying almost saying exactly opposite things. So I have one question for each of you. Thad, my question for you is, if you had the time, do you think you could come up with something that the planning board could be comfortable with and approve? Art, my question for you is, as it is, do we think that leaving this, as I understand it, to the Conservation Commission to supervise is just not enough supervision?
Well, put it this way. I haven't had conversations or any discussion with Concom members about this. I don't know how they would consider or approach this. Right now, the bylaw says nothing, okay? You're not allowed to do it. So what should be the criteria allowed in the Conservancy District? That should be a first conversation that you do have. Now, we certainly haven't had that conversation with the Conservation Commission. They would be the most logical entity to start the discussion with.
Dad, go ahead.
There are several projects that were not reviewed by the Community Development Department, many of those done by the town of Chatham. The Absegami Run Stormwater Project, Old Queen Anne Stormwater, Barn Hill Stormwater. And these were all within the Conservancy District, all reviewed and overseen by the Conservation Commission, permitted by the Conservation Commission, all to benefit water quality, all done in accordance with all the environmental specifications in the Stormwater Handbook. Everything that they're worried about was covered by the commission, as that's part of their charge.
Go ahead.
I move that the Select Board rescind the affirmative recommendation on this article.
No, second, so we can vote.
Any further discussion? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I get the sense that there's a lot more work to be done here, so we need some time to do it. That's my sense. As much as I want to support Thad's initiatives, I don't think we're not supporting it, I think there's more work to be done.
I want to add to that. I mean, it is exceedingly painful to vote for this because you've done a tremendous amount of work. And I think, you know, I don't know whether maybe Concom needs to be in the conversation, worked into it. I think this needs to get done. Unfortunately, it just seems that we can't get enough consensus around it at this point to take it to town meeting, and you'll have your shot. I mean, you know, maybe you can persuade people, but I think
Thirds is a tough target, no matter what the article and no matter what the support.
yeah. So, any other?
No, I mean, our sense is we're not trying to kill this, we're trying to make it done right, so,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor, this is a motion to withdraw our, to rescind
Rescind it.
our recommendation. Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
No.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Thank you. You're still up, Dad.
You can't get rid of me that easy.
Sorry.
You can't get rid of me that easy.
Well, and not only that, but you're gonna do better on this one than you did on the last one.
At least with you folks. We'll see how town meeting goes. Thad Eldridge, Impact Chatham. So we have exterior mechanical device appliances, HVACs, generators, heat pumps, pool equipment. The three highlights are get rid of the side setback requirement all around and make it meet the normal setback. So the side to the side, the street to the street. Don't encourage generators in the front yard. One of the reasons this bylaw came to be, why it was proposed, was because of all of the units put in front of the community center on the street side. Elevated are currently exempt, so if you hang one of these units off the side of the building, it's exempt from the setback, which goes against the idea of carrying noise. Noise will project further as it's up higher. And in the case where we need relief, variances are very difficult, and they don't always work well. We'd like to enable Section 9 special permits where the Zoning Board of Appeals can review with input from the neighbors. Planning Board was happier with this one, so.
I think so are we.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to do anything here because we've already recommended it subject to, and the subject to has been fulfilled. So,
Alrighty.
okay?
It's in the warrant as an affirmative
In
recommendation.
the warrant, yeah, okay. Thanks very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. See you Saturday.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thanks, Thad.
Thanks, thank you, Thad, thanks, Art. Next, Ms. Carrie Mazerol. We have a financing agreement with the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, members of the board. Carrie Mazerol, Finance Director. So I have a couple items to go over with you. The first one is a Massachusetts Clean Water Trust financing agreement. This is an interim financing loan for Article 26 approved at the May 6, 2023 town meeting, which authorized $19.8 million for a water capital water treatment facility at Training Field Wells 5 and 8. To date, the town has already borrowed $700,000 for expenses that occurred in FY 2024. And we have a previous bond in the amount of $15 million that was already approved from the Clean Water Trust last year under loan number DWEC 23107. The trust has since approved an additional loan in the amount of $3,139,033 under DWEC 2423 to further support this project at 0% interest. And that will remain, for this project, unissued borrowing capacity in the amount of $960,967. Included in the packet are the loan documents that require your vote and signatures. Do you guys have any further questions on this one?
I just want to ask, the two items here, that the 15 million and the one that we're authorizing here, are those both to be issued, or is the 15 million already issued?
So the 15 million, we already did that one last year. It's also an interim loan for this project.
Okay. Okay, so that's subject to so-called permanent financing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Dean, you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to offer a motion. I just wanted to clarify for the record, for the public, that this all relates to wells 5 and 8.
Yes.
And the construction of the water treatment facility to address elevated levels of iron manganese and PFAS in these public water supply wells. So unless there's discussion, I'm happy to offer this recommendation.
Please
this
do.
motion. I move that the Select Board vote to adopt the vote as printed in paragraphs 1 through 8 in the document titled Vote of the Select Board, attached here to and presented to the Board, and that we incorporate the text of such vote into the minutes of the meeting, and that the Select Board sign both the note and the 2 copies of the closing certificate, and that the clerk of the board sign 2 copies of the vote of the Select Board.
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
And Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
now the big one.
Yes. So on April 17th, 2025, the town manager, myself, and the treasurer collector participated in a rating call for Standard & Poor's, with Standard & Poor's analysis and our financial advisors. The purpose of this rating was to review in advance of the issuance of the general obligation bonds in the amount of $8,185,000. We're also pleased to announce that the town of Chatham has received a AAA bond rating from Standard & Poor's for the new debt and reaffirmed the AAA rating for existing debt. So with that, Chatham received a AAA rating on its new and existing bonds, reflecting excellent credit quality, strong financial performance, healthy reserves, and proactive risk management. On Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, the town of Chatham received multiple bids for the general obligation loan totaling $8,187,273,000. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. $8,187,273. We had 8 bids ranging with true interest costs ranging from 3.78 to 3.89. The low bidder was Fidelity Capital Markets with a true interest cost of 3.78% for a 20-year general obligation bond. We received a premium in the amount of $365,510.30 that will be applied to the project costs to reduce the principal of the loan. The projects for this general obligation loan are for the transfer station improvements, wastewater collection facilities, and waterfront infrastructure improvements. Fidelity Market submitted the winning bid at 3.78. This included a premium, again, at $365,510.30, which will be applied to reduce the eligible project principal, as well as pay the closing costs associated with the issuance. After applying $237,273 to the premium to reduce the principal, the general obligation bond is $7,950,000 with a true interest cost, again, of 3.78. And I apologize in advance. I know there's a lot of signatures that need to be signed, but each of them come out with their bonds, so they there's about 20 pages that need to be signed for the bonds.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Carrie,
sorry.
Carrie, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carrie, I'm going to offer a motion in a second, but I wanted to ask, and I did review this material, is the plan that in each year, starting in 2026, we're going to issue a bond for approximately $400,000, or are they all issued at once? Because
They're all issued at once.
they just have different payback schedules?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
If I
Go
may,
ahead.
I want to ask the question I always ask, which is, we have certificates in here that represent on our behalf certain factual conditions, no defaults, compliance with this, that, and the other. I always ask you,
Yes.
are you confident that those statements are all true and you're not aware of anything that would make them untrue?
That's correct. I read through the document, and everything is correct.
Okay, thank you. And we're entitled to have our own knowledge, but also to rely on that, and thank you for that homework.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that due diligence,
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman. I know you
absolutely.
do it every time.
I've done it before, and I'm gonna, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board vote to adopt the award of $8,187,273 general obligation municipal purpose loan of 2025 bonds dated April 29th, 2025, parenthesis, the bonds, to Fidelity Capital Markets in accordance with the terms set forth in the attached bid and notice of sale relating to the bonds and as detailed in the attached vote of the Select Board, which shall be incorporated into the minutes and made a part thereof.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro.
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
And Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Don't spend it all in one place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a discussion on use of town seal and town property for political purposes. Carol Gordon.
All right, thank you for this opportunity. It's unfortunate that I'm standing here tonight to discuss the misuse of the town seal and town property for political gain. Remember when you were first playing board games with your kids? You taught them to play fair and square. Well, unfortunately, that's not what many townspeople believe is happening here. Misuse of the town seal and town property for political gain. Regarding the use of the town seal, Mass General Law 268, Section 35, explains the unauthorized use of the town seal. It cannot be used for political gain. Our town seal was recently used by Select Board incumbents to advertise several coffee meet and greets. The use of the seal could rightfully be interpreted as the town supporting these candidates. The town manager has the power to enforce the use of the town seal and levy penalties. Presently, the town seal is still being used on the chairman's social media page. If the use of the town seal was authorized by the town manager, is that appropriate? By the way, the town manager was advised of this violation over a week ago. Also, I want to talk about the use of the town property for political gain. Recently, as of May 3rd, a coffee was held for Mike Shell and Jeff Dykens on the airport, which is town property. I wrote and asked Mr. Harrison to explain this about the coffee, and his reply was, I quote, "Carol, this event is not sponsored by the Airport Commission nor the Friends of Chatham Airport. They reached out to me and asked if they could have a meet and greet with some of the Chatham pilots. Since I am supporting their reelection, I agreed to their request. I was not planning on providing equal time for the challengers." End of quote. Again, an email was sent to Mr. Harrison to confirm that the event was indeed being held on airport property. I quote his reply, "Yes, there will be a meet and greet for Mike Shell and Jeff Dykens at the airport this Saturday." End quote. This is a clear violation. You cannot use town property for political gain, and it's not within Mr. Harrison's authority to agree for the airport to host a political event simply because he's supporting the candidates. This was not, this was a clear violation. They could have easily walked down to the VFW and held their meeting. Again, the town manager was aware of the violation. As far as I know, apparently chose not to address it. Mr. Dykens and Mr. Shell are well aware of political campaign laws. This is not their first time running for office. So what is it that we want? What should be done? Townspeople deserve acknowledgement before the town election, May 15th, that these violations have occurred, and the other candidates should receive an apology. The incumbents have taken advantage of their positions unfairly and unjustly. Certainly, the use of the town seal should be immediately removed from political ads, handouts, and all personal websites. It should be made clear to all that town property is not to be used and should not have been used for political gains. In this case, I believe Mr. Harrison took advantage of his position. But let's face it, it's done. The campaign has not been on a level playing field with the two incumbents joining forces to run as a team and using their authority and positions to secure special considerations for themselves. All of this to the other candidates' disadvantage. This does not make me happy to have to stand here. As a reminder to all, allow me to refer to our Home Rule Charter under Ethics Section 1.8, which states, elected and appointed officials and employees of the town of Chatham, shall not use their official positions to secure or to grant special consideration, treatment, advantage, privilege, or exemption to themselves or to any other person beyond that which is available to every person. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to respond here, Carol, briefly, and I'll offer Jeff an opportunity to say what he has to say as well. I'm sorry?
No, I said I understand. Go ahead.
I'm going to start by saying that the one thing that I acknowledge is that twice on it happened to be my social media, but it was on behalf of the two of us. We used the town logo, which is different from the town seal. That was not. I'll be happy to take responsibility for it. I didn't create the ad. I didn't do anything other than post it. But it was a mistake, and I acknowledge that, and I apologize for that. It was not the town seal. The town seal is identified in the town bylaws. Right there, you can see a copy of it, and it's section 1.5 of the bylaws. It says the town seal, town shall have a seal which shall be in the following style. That's the style. And then the B says the town clerk shall be the keeper of the seal. Papers or documents issued from any town agency may be attested by use of the town seal. We have not had any use of the town seal.
Okay.
If I may.
Okay.
I'm not done.
Okay.
So that's one. As I say, it's unfortunate that the other, what I consider to be the logo, it's also on the town flag. People take pictures of the flag all the time. People use the flag all the time. And I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that that is a different thing from the town seal. With respect to the meeting, what I'm going to say about that is that we have made every effort to make ourselves available to everybody around town who has any interest in this election. We've been in front of people as we accepted your invitation
Yes.
on Saturday night to participate in your event. We've participated in 2 other similar events. We've been out talking to people on the street. We literally meet with anybody. The airport is an issue of huge magnitude, seemingly forever. I'm not going to, let me just say, Mr. Harrison did not speak for us in terms of the evolution of that event. I will also say that something like a year ago, the airport, I guess it was the manager and the commission, held 2 different events in the SRE building, which is not the airport building, but it's the SRE building, in which they invited the pilots to come and talk about the new Fly Friendly program that the Airport Commission had instituted, and then they also invited the public to come in and have a similar conversation. As far as we were concerned, we were acting in that sort of a fashion, discussing the issues with people who have an interest in it.
Okay.
And I do not believe that that's any different from political meetings that go on in the community center and elsewhere around this town on town property.
Okay, I need to respond to that. The airport is town property, and it was for part of your campaign to go and speak with those. Huntley had said the same thing, that he came and he gave it to you because he's supporting your campaign. So it was part of your campaigning to have it there. And the other 2 candidates were not invited. And he specifically said he was not going to provide equal time. And the airport is town property. So if you had it anywhere else, of course, when you came to South Chatham, all 4 candidates were there. When you do your coffees, we're at the Perk and places like this, that's open to everyone to come and meet you there. But that's not town property.
All I
The
can say,
airport
Carol,
is.
all I can say is we believe that we were responding to an interest on the part of a segment of this community that was interested in hearing what we had to say. I really can't be put in the position of defending what Mr. Harrison had to say
No,
about that.
I understand, but it would have been nice had the other 2 candidates been able to respond to the pilots as well.
There's plenty of time for them to ask Mr. Harrison for equal time.
Well, they
There's
won't do
plenty
it
of time for them to do
They
that.
won't do it on town property at the airport.
Well, they can ask for, they can ask for whatever they would like to ask for. Jeff, do you want to
you.
say anything?
No, I agree with Mike that one is a logo and one is the official seal. So that's just, to call us out for the logo, I think is unfortunate. And I was invited by pilots to talk about the airport, Carol, and I accepted their invitation. We had a substantive discussion about how airport operations might change so that we could limit flights, increase fines, and it was a brainstorming session in as much as it was a meet and greet. So, and you know, we use the community center all the time for political events. The Democrats meet there, the Republicans meet there.
Not during campaigns.
Well,
The campaign.
No,
They
that's
met last
actually not
week during
true.
a campaign.
No,
That's
that's
just not
not true.
true.
That just
Not
isn't
true.
true.
Okay,
It's not true at all.
okay.
Not true. We had candidates at the last Democratic town meeting. We had Stewart there. And that was town property, community center.
Okay.
Yeah,
You know,
I personally invited Stuart to that meeting, as well as Brian.
Well, that's all well and good. It's just that this did not sit right. And I don't want to belabor this. I'm sure maybe other people want to talk about it too. I do, would like to know the difference between the logo and the seal. They look very much the same. But I also looked up about the use of it, but you've explained
You can find
it.
this on the town
Yes.
website. It shows you the exact difference between the
Exactly,
two.
and I will check that out. But anyway, I appreciate the time, appreciate to stand up here and say what a lot of people have been thinking, and let's just move forward.
Well, if I may, I appreciate that people are entitled to think what they think, and they're free to do that, but it would be good if they could be informed with the facts.
Well, we
Okay.
have the facts right here, you just
Well,
stated.
I-
So that's why we have this forum.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Gloria Hicks, Meeting House Road. I have a similar situation dealing with a conflict of interest having to do with campaigning, if I may.
The issue here is public property and the town seal,
This does have to do with public property,
okay?
not the town seal. I'd like to begin by disclosing I'm a member of the Human Resources Committee. That being said, I am in no way speaking or representing for the committee or any of its members. I do, however, have an issue to bring to you that occurred at the last meeting held on April 14th of the Human Services. I was unable to attend, but I certainly heard about it afterwards. All of us that serve Chatham are required to take mandatory ethics and conflict of interest training annually. This was recently discussed at the South Chatham Village Association meeting with all the select board candidates on Saturday. That training, and I quote, "Not using your public position to benefit yourself by putting a private intent over the public intent." And unfortunately, Mr. Dykens, you did that at this meeting. By approaching members after the adjournment, seeking endorsements for you and Mr. Shell, again, at a public facility, as that's just been discussed, is clearly a violation of the conflict of interest law. By using your position as a liaison, a select board member at a municipal facility for private gain. Some members declined to sign, and when you asked them, they told you why. One member stated that the only reason for you to be there was to get the endorsement, since we haven't seen you at meetings as a liaison. And I understand you've had a very big job.
Let's confine ourselves to the public property and the
Well,
business
this
of.
is at a municipal facility.
Whether he's been there in the past is irrelevant to what you're talking about.
I thought Mr. Dykens was going to respond to that.
He's welcome to, but I'm just keeping you
Okay.
to the agenda item.
That is the agenda item. It is clearly a conflict of interest violation, and we seem to be having this conversation a lot, and it needs to stop. We need to do something about this. And hopefully discussing some of these things and bringing these things up tonight will lead to compliance going forward, and Chatham deserves that. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything, Jeff?
I have nothing to say.
Okay, anybody else? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Gibbs, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Elaine Gibbs. I had sent you all photos for reference shortly before this meeting. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 55, a campaign and political finance form, quote, "must be completed and filed with the town clerk before a political committee can accept contributions, make any expenditures, or incur any liability in Massachusetts," unquote. Since papers were only filed today by the incumbents and contributions were accepted and expenses incurred since April 14th, it would appear to me that was a violation. The box checked on those forms were for, quote, "candidate without a committee." I provided 2 photos of ads in last week's Chronicle. One said vote Jeff Dykens and Mike Shell, and a second getting stuff done, both paid for by the Dykens Shell reelection committee. Either the campaign finance form submitted is wrong, that there is no committee, or the ads are wrong. It can't be both. With respect to the use of the town seal, it is proprietary under the Home Rule Charter, Section 1-4. The town clerk shall be the keeper of the seal. Papers or documents issued from any town agency may be attested to by the use of the town seal. Only town agencies can use the seal. The idea that we have 2 seals, I would ask you to turn around and look what's hanging over your head. That is the seal that we see. That's the lighthouse. That may not be the town official seal, but that's the one we all know. It is used by the town of Chatham on every single document, on different websites. It's all over the place. So I think that's a parsing to say that that's not the seal and you were not in violation. People who look at that seal assume it has been sanctioned by the town. Under enforcement, it says, unless otherwise specified, the provisions of these general bylaws shall be enforced by the town manager or designee. Quote, "Town manager shall be empowered to direct town council to initiate civil proceedings, including injunctive relief to secure compliance under the provisions of these general bylaws. Mass General Law 268, Section 35 also prohibits the use of the town seal. And I would suggest that as far as the citizens of this town know, that's our town seal. So it's immaterial what the real seal is that nobody's seen in a long time. 2 photos I sent you that look professionally designed have the town seal used to advertise multiple coffee, meet, and greets on the personal Facebook page and Instagram of Mr. Shell, with photos of him and Mr. Dykens posted since at least April 20th through today. 18 days, they're still up. It clearly implies that you are being endorsed by the existing town government, which is a violation, in my view, of the town seal. Regarding the use of town property by the airport chair, to follow up on the correspondence previously referenced by from Chairman Harrison, the airport chair does not have the authority to approve the use of town property for political purposes, restrict attendance to only pilots on town property, and to specifically state he's excluding other candidates because he supports the incumbents. Despite 3 pretty blatant known violations, the airport meeting was still allowed to occur. MGL Chapter 55, Section 14 also prohibits use of public buildings for political activity.
We've lost your voice. We've lost your sound.
Well, get her back.
Elaine, you're muted.
Where was I when I got muted?
Section 55, and I didn't hear the rest of it.
All right. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 55, Section 14 also prohibits the use of public buildings for political activity. An airport commissioner resigned May 2nd, the day before the meeting, as a direct result of the airport chair's position. With respect to the League of Women Voters, I provided you a photo. The League of Women Voters logo does not appear on the League's website, yet it appears in a photo I sent you of only Mr. Shell and Mr. Dykens, which were found on both Chairman Shell's Instagram and Facebook pages. The reference to the other 2 candidates was only added later, I believe under the direction of the League of Women Voters, with no photos of them. Using the League of Women Voters logo is misleading to the public, implying that Mr. Shell and Mr. Dykens were being endorsed by the League. Again, this was clearly professionally designed. With respect to the Chatham Chamber of Commerce and Merchants Association, I forwarded you photos of a by invitation only Zoom meeting with Mr. Shell and Mr. Dykens. The invitation only included photos of the incumbents with no mention of the other candidates. The meeting is not included on the Chamber's calendar as an event scheduled for May 8th. Since taxpayers provide funding and the use of town property for numerous events by the Chamber, the forum should have been made available to all candidates with all of their photos posted on the Chamber site and the public allowed to participate. These violations are just the ones the public has found out about. There are likely more meetings, more ads, more by invitation only events that we don't know about yet. The reality that it's apparently the public's job to make sure everyone is following the law should be totally unacceptable by everyone's standards. You can't unring this bell, damage has been done. Mr. Shell?
Yes, is that the end of your comment?
No, I would like you to listen to me instead of talking to the other board members. These were not mistakes, as the campaign finance laws are clear. There need to be penalties imposed so it never happens again. This is exactly why the level of trust the public has in the current town government is virtually non-existent. The questions that the public deserves answers today, whether or not any town staff or offices were used to include any design work on these various pieces of promotion or town equipment used for mailing correspondence, whether phones, emails, computers, supplies, or other office equipment for any of the graphics or ads for political purposes, as that is a clear and serious violation of campaign finance laws? And finally, what's going to be done about it now? I find this really egregious, the aggressive nature you're taking on this. These are serious, and I think they should be taken seriously. This is not right. Everything that we have found shows, gives the implied impression to everyone that this is a tag team that is going out and taking advantage of public space to promote your reelection and excluding very blatantly the other two candidates running. So I hope that will be acknowledged and not defended the way you are, because it's wrong. And that's all I have to say, but I would love to hear your thoughts.
Do you want
And
to
I
start,
think
Jeff?
actually you probably should have recused yourselves on this, since you are the subjects of it, but that's another story.
Then we
Thank
wouldn't
you.
have been here to hear this.
So, Ms. Gibbs, I want to clear up your initial comments with respect to our reelection campaign or committee. We do not have a formal reelection committee. So the financial filing that was made today is accurate. All the monies that we spent on our campaign have been provided by us, the candidates. The ad was an error. It just was an error. When the ad was put in, it said sponsored by the committee to reelect Dyke and Shell. That was an error. And we cleared that up. We have paid for everything out of pocket. We haven't raised a penny to that end. And to that end, and just to your latter comments, Ms. Gibbs, we have not used any of the town's supplies, facilities to produce any of our ads or any of our postings on social media. We have friends that are doing it for us, and they're not professionals. They're folks that know how to post something on the web and can create, some ads. So I take umbrage and issue with your insinuation that we're betraying our trust in using town facilities, quite frankly. Thank you.
So,
Well,
and if
I
I,
take
excuse me, Ms.
exception.
Ms. Gibbs, if I may, first of all, I want to say I deny everything that you've said. We have offered you the opportunity to make your case here. We've effectively offered you whatever it is, 10, 15 minutes of free campaign time to attack us on behalf of your candidate, your candidates of choice, which you're free to do, but everything that you've said is just plain wrong. It is absolutely unfounded. We have conducted ourselves with absolutely the highest probity, and in the one case where it was put to me to make sure that we were fair, I invited Brian Phillips and Stewart to the Democratic Town Committee so that they could talk, make their case there, and they did, and they came. We haven't gotten any comparable invitation from your committee. So that's all I have to say on the subject. You can say what you will, you can demand whatever you want to demand, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a political campaign. People are making their views known to the public. My view is the way you do that appropriately is you are positive on the issues. You do not attack the other candidates. I have not attacked any other candidate in this race. I do not intend to do so. And if you feel that's the way to advance the cause of your candidate, you are free to do that. I just don't happen to agree with that.
I have a right to respond to that. You are questioning my motives. I am a process person, and I cannot believe that you would suggest that it was just an error that you created the League of Women Voters ad on your own with no sense that would give your candidacy more credence. I think it's really inappropriate that you are turning this around. You have violated laws, and there should be some consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Carol, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to add something that I don't think Elaine declared a candidacy for anybody. I don't think she supported any particular candidate in what she said tonight.
She has 2 signs for Stuart Smith on
Okay.
on her lawn.
So do a lot of people. A lot of people have signs with all of you on their lawn. So
Okay,
it's, what she
Okay.
said tonight wasn't supporting any particular candidate.
okay.
Thank you.
I think this has been very telling and very revealing to a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, is that the end of the agenda? I lost track. Oh, Brian, yeah, go ahead.
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. I got a couple signatures at an airport meeting in a small annex room, and I'm sorry, I didn't know I was doing anything wrong.
40 lashes. I'll take a motion.
Got
I'm
me.
sorry?
One more person.
Oh, Nicole Stern, please.
Yes, I was not happy with anything that I heard from you or Mr. Dykens. You've taken no responsibility for anything. And all it reminds me of is at last year's town meeting, it was very apparent that the voters, for the most part, did not trust the Board of Selectmen. I'm excluding certain people. And they were not happy. And I think you knew that by the results. And all I can say at this point is you're digging the hole deeper and deeper. And hopefully that will change very soon.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Nacastro?
Aye.
Mr. Shell says aye. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
And Mr. Metters?
Aye.
And we do need to stay and sign papers.